guys? We are back for another video, and today, as you can see, we are breaking down the Minnesota Vikings 2021 draft. I don't want to say it's going to be full grade and, give this pick an A, give this pick a C, whatever, and everything in between. But we are going to be breaking down each pick and how each rookie can contribute their rookie year and what their future plans are for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, at the end, there's going to be a little announcement, and I emphasize a little because it's really not that big of a deal. I just kind of want to let you guys know something at the end. But before we dive into everything, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do, and it would be very much appreciated. Now let's begin. So the Minnesota Vikings draft started out with a trade back from pick 14 to 23, and a lot of people, myself included, thought originally they were going to go with Elijah Vera-Tucker, the guard/tackle from USC. Well, they traded back to 23 and got a player they were routinely mocked in tackle Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech, and picked up 2 extra third-round picks in the process. This was a team that did not have a second-round pick due to the Yannick Ngakoue trade, and I don't think that trade was a bad thing at the time, because they thought they would be able to work out a long-term deal with Yannick, and obviously they did not, and then Baltimore got him for pennies on the dollar for what the Vikings paid. So to risk a second-round pick for a potentially franchise-altering defensive end to pair with Danielle Hunter, I don't think that was a bad trade, and that was the reason they did not have the second-round pick. So they took Christian Darrisaw, and I thought it was a terrific trade. You get 2 third-round picks and a guy that was originally mocked at 14, even 13 to the Chargers at times, and I thought it was a terrific pick for them. He's going to be the left tackle, and this is a team that has not done much in terms of helping Kirk Cousins out on the offensive line, to be clear. Kirk has Dalvin Cook, CJ Ham, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. You get the point. He has a lot of offensive weapons help, but in terms of the offensive line, for the better part of 3 years, he's looked at times like Patrick Mahomes did in the Super Bowl. Not pretty, to say the least. So to get one of the best tackles in the entire draft for trading back to get multiple extra picks, I loved it. And if there were a grade, I would have gave it an A+ due to everything surrounding that situation. Now, pick 66 was Kellen Mond, and I don't know if I've really went off on this yet or really gave my opinion on this on the channel. I probably glanced over it briefly at a point, but I loved this pick. Since Kirk's been a backup, it's been Sean Mannion for the most part, and I do not like Sean Mannion at all. Sean Mannion is horrendous, and I really hate to just go in on a backup quarterback, but I mean, the reality is Kirk's been healthy for us for 3 years, and I'm grateful for that, by the way. But if Kirk ever goes down for an extended period of time, just tank. I mean, you're not going to win multiple games with Sean Mannion. The dude is horrendous. He's been in the league since 2015, and not getting political, just more so saying he's been in the league since Obama was president, and he's never thrown a career touchdown pass, and that is his job. So he's not a good player, and to get a good backup in Kellen Mond, who will be a good backup, again, we're not talking Kellen Mond coming in and being Josh Allen in 2020. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a guy that can spot start if need be and potentially be a developmental guy. I did love that selection for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm hoping for Kellen Mond that he kind of lights a fire underneath Kirk, because Kirk is definitely above average. For anyone that says he's not above average, you're just like hating on the guy. He's thrown 30+ touchdowns multiple times, and he's had multiple double-digit win seasons and finally won a playoff game in 2019, so he's not an average quarterback, right? But I hope Kellen Mond can, kind of light that fire underneath Kirk to get him to play even better than what he did in 2020. Now, Kirk obviously will have games where it's just like, man, how is this guy in the NFL? And then he's also going to have games where it's just like, Kirk is a legitimate top 10 quarterback. Not to say he is, but he has games where he plays like a top 8 or 10 quarterback in the NFL. So I do like this pick strictly because it's never bad to develop a guy. And, your backup quarterback can't get much worse than Sean Mannion. And for a franchise that hasn't had a legitimate backup quarterback in a while, I can't say enough about how much I love this selection. The Minnesota Vikings' next selection was Chazz Schemer, the quarterback turned linebacker, and after watching film and reading a bunch of articles the past week about Chazz, I would be pretty surprised if he stays at linebacker, and I do think Zimmer will have him play kind of a hybrid type role between linebacker and safety on the defense. The only thing that concerns me with Chazz is his age. He will be 25 in February, so you're taking a guy in the 3rd round. It's not like they're saying, Chazz, we want you to be the next Eric Kendricks or Anthony Barr. So I don't really worry about him in terms of, his ability or his IQ or anything like that, because being a quarterback and going to the defense, I love that for him. I love what he could potentially bring in, in the film room, and what he can tell players like Eric Kendricks or Anthony Barr, and, what he brings to the table, to me, honestly, is a lot. And I love that selection for the Vikings to get a guy like this in the 3rd round, and a guy who could be a hybrid type role. I absolutely love this selection. I think the value was good, but again, the only thing that concerns me, and this is the 3rd round, so it's not the end of the world, is the age, but you can't get every single prospect to be Trevor Lawrence, right? Pick 86 was Wyatt Davis, the guard from Ohio State, and in a lot of people's big boards, they had him in the top 35, and at worst, usually had him inside of the top 50. So to get this type of value at 86 is tremendous in the Minnesota Vikings front office's part. So I'm going to say this, and I do not mean this disrespectfully to Elijah Vera-Tucker, but I would rather have Christian Darrisaw and Wyatt Davis than solely Vera-Tucker, if that makes sense. It's not meant to be disrespectful. I'd just rather have two good prospects than one great one, and really Darrisaw himself isn't that far behind Vera-Tucker. So for the Minnesota Vikings to leave the draft with both Darrisaw and Wyatt Davis, and really Kellen Mond, because Kellen Mond was a part of the trade too, in exchange for Elijah Vera-Tucker, I don't think any Vikings fans could be more happy with how this trade turned out for them. The Vikings have finally addressed the offensive line, and having an offensive line of Darrisaw, Wyatt Davis, Bradbury, Ezra Cleveland, and Brian O'Neill is much better than when Kirk first got here. And, you know, Kirk's contract is obviously always a big part of the discussion, but in reality, so should every other quarterbacks in the NFL. What do you think Mahomes is going to be in a couple years, right? So I absolutely love the fact that the Minnesota Vikings are finally addressing the offensive line, and they did a terrific job of doing that in the 2021 draft. The next pick was Patrick Jones II, the defensive lineman from Pittsburgh, and while a lot of people were saying it was about a round early, to me, if you're getting a guy that's going to be a rotational pass rusher or a developmental pass rushing guy in the third round, so be it. Take him. If you like him, take him. The Cowboys took corner Nahshon Wright, and I've referenced this a few times in the past week, Nahshon Wright, that is, but he wasn't in a lot of people's top 225 or 250, and to take him at 99 is a lot more of a reach than the Vikings possibly taking Patrick Jones around early. So I also, for what this is worth, guys, in 2015, they took a guy in the third round at pick 88, and I was absolutely fuming. I don't remember who I wanted at the time, but they took a pass rusher named Danielle Hunter at 88 overall, and not to say Patrick Jones is going to be Danielle Hunter, but when they took Danielle, I was like, why? Why are we taking this guy? And the Vikings defensive line coach Andre Patterson is one of the most respected coaches in not only the Vikings organization, but in the entire league, just for what he's done. He's coached in the NFL for, I think, 39 years, and if he likes the guy, and we're going to get to Janarius Robinson later, which is another guy that Andre Patterson liked, then I'm cool with it. Believe it or not, Andre Patterson knows a lot more about these prospects than I do, and if it's around early, but if Andre liked him, I'm cool with that type of trade-off. Their fourth round pick, their first one at least, was Kenneth Wangu out of Iowa State, and it's a kick returning running back. You know what I mean? It's basically like Amir Abdullah 2.0, and you get a guy that ran a 4.29 40 in training. Again, I'm cool with it. These picks, by the way, are going to get a lot more shortened as we get later into the draft. But I do like this selection simply because you get a kick returner who replaces KJ Osborne, who I can speak for Vikings fans when I say this. He was horrendous in 2020. So you spend a fourth round pick on a kick returner. Now, I didn't necessarily like this pick over a safety like Tyree Gillespie or Jamar Johnson, and that's going to be a common thing with the picks coming up. But, oh well. It is what it is. You get a good kick returner. Hopefully he becomes a decent player. But we're in the fourth round now, so we're not expecting, the next Justin Fields at their respective position, right? So it is what it is type thing, and if he turns out, cool. If not, it was a fourth round pick. Next two picks were Cameron Bynum from Cal and Janarius Robinson from Florida State, and Cameron Bynum was a corner at Cal, but Rick Spielman immediately told him, look, Cameron, we like your game, but you're going to be a safety for us. Now, I would have preferred Jamar Johnson admittedly over Cameron, but if he proves me wrong and he becomes a starting caliber safety for a couple years, awesome. Let's have at it. Then Janarius Robinson from Florida State was somebody that the defensive line coach Andre Patterson was banging his fists on the table for to take. So if a guy like that is credited with a lot of the success Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin have had at the NFL level is pounding his fists on the table for this said prospect, then I'm all for that, especially late in the fourth round. Anytime a coach like that is, as accomplished as Andre is pounding his fists on the table for a said prospect, especially a developmental guy, I am 100% of the time all for taking that said prospect. Now, this is another player I have not addressed with the next pick, and that is Amari Smith Marset. And truthfully, I think he can become one of the biggest steals of the draft. He said at one point, and this was all on Vikings media and everything, I saw that he said basically he saw Stephon Diggs be a fifth round steal and he thought it could be the same. So I think that's, Vikings fans obviously make that connection and think it's pretty cool that he said that, and he wants to be here type thing, and he's only from Iowa, so there's no doubt that the Vikings front office saw him, I don't want to say dominate, but make a big impact over the past few years, and I really am looking forward to watching him play and think he can be a good number 3 receiver behind, of course, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Potential to be one of the biggest steals in the draft, by the way. The next pick, Zach Davidson, tight end. I mean, it's basically like David Morgan a couple years later for Vikings fans that remember him. Probably be just a heavy-duty guy, and it is what it is type thing. I highly doubt he'll ever have more than like 3 receiving touchdowns in a year, speaking from I say that's a lot of a statistical standpoint. And the final pick that they had was defensive lineman Twyman from Pitt. And again, it's just another rotational guy. And as you guys know, I am all for taking chances on guys late. It doesn't hurt, you know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. So if they think there's any potential there to be even a rotational rusher on 3rd down for the next 3 or 4 years, I mean, that's more production than you see a lot of the time from 6+ round picks anyway. So that's all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Change the format up a hair. It's not going to be like this every time. I just want to get that clear. These little announcement, again, it was very, very little. I said at the beginning was I got my 2nd COVID shot yesterday, and I just want to let you guys know I'm absolutely exhausted. I don't think the camera can pick up, but like really bad bags underneath my eyes, so hopefully the camera can't pick it up. But I just did want to let you guys know that I was going to post this video yesterday to make it 7 days in a row. Did not, because I've just been exhausted since that shot. But that's all. So that was the little announcement. Please don't dislike because I was like, oh, an announcement. No, it was just a little announcement. So anyways, that is all I'm going to have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the Vikings draft breakdown, and until next time, comment what you thought below. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.